Okay, I've prepared this interactive PowerPoint or study guide for the final exam. The final exam is basically multiple choice, some matching, and a couple fill in the blanks and a couple true false. It's very straightforward, and I think it's very doable, very easy exam. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the questions. So here you're going to have some matching questions, and we had these type of questions on our chapter tests. You're given various responses to questions, and you have to match the response to the question. Okay, this is very simple. So let's take a look. So we have three responses here. Me llamo John. My name is John. Tengo 17 años. I am 17 years old. And you should all know that we give age with the verb tener. And then we have another response. Soy de Carolina del Sur. I'm from South Carolina. These should be easily recognizable and understandable by now. Okay, so you're going to have, for the first one, they want you to match the response to the question. So the first question is, ¿De dónde eres? You should all know what that means. Where are you from? And it's the tu form, eres, tú eres. Where are you from? The familiar you form. So if somebody asks you where they are from, well, how would you answer? You would say, I am from, and then you would give the place. What's the correct answer? Soy de Carolina del Sur. It's the only one that could match. Next one. ¿Cuántos años tienes? And there we have the question word cuántos, how many? So how many years do you have, or how old are you? Well, how do we give age? We give it with the verb tener. And the best answer there, response there, is tengo 17 años. And then the last one. Here's your question. ¿Cómo te llamas? You should all know what that means. It's the verb llamar, okay, to call or be called, okay. ¿Cómo te llamas? Literally, how are you called? Or what is your name? And the answer here would be Me llamo John. So you're going to have some matching exercises or questions like this. You'll be given the responses, you just have to match them to the question. And we had numerous of these on our prior tests. Okay, next. Indefinite and negative expressions. These were in chapter 5, okay? And I pointed this out in the Zoom lecture. Make sure you are familiar with these indefinite and negative expressions, okay? And again, we have to go to the menu above and find the expression, and then put it in the match it into the correct question. So we have the word algo, something, alguien, somebody, alguna, which means some, it's the feminine form, algunos, masculine plural, some again, nada, nothing, nadie, nobody. Okay, so you should be familiar with these words and be able to answer these questions. Again, we had this in chapter 5, so you can focus a little bit of energy, make sure you're comfortable with this material. So let's look at the first question. I have to select the correct word from the menu above. So the first question says, ¿Tienes sed? You should know that tener sed means to be thirsty. In Spanish, we have thirst. So, are you thirsty? And it's the tu form. And then they ask the person, ¿Quieres tomar? You should know what quieres means. Do you want to tomar? Drink. Okay. Do you want to drink? ¿Quieres tomar? So now, which one of those expressions are we going to use? In English, we would say, do you want to drink something? So what's the word for something? Algo. Next one. Las matemáticas es una materia difícil. Math is a difficult subject. And then the person says, yo no entiendo, I don't understand blank de las matemáticas. I don't understand blank I don't understand anything about math. Now, notice that it says, I do not understand. Remember when we're using negative expressions uh, or indefinite negative expressions, if we have a negative verb, if we start out with a negative verb, we have to use a negative expression. So in English, we would say, I don't understand anything about Spanish. But in Spanish, we must use a double negative. So if we start the sentence out negative, so it will be, I don't understand nothing about Spanish. So it will be nada. Again, this is described and explained in your book. I went through it in the Zoom lecture. So now we would use nada. Okay, so next one. Sabes si hay. So you should know what sabes means. It's a verb to know. It was in chapter 5. Sabes is the to form. Do you know if I? Everyone should know what I is. It will be on your exam. If there is or there are. Okay. Sabes si hay. Do you know if there is blank and la casa? So do you know if there is somebody or someone in the house? So alguien. ¿Sabes si hay alguien? Do you know if there is somebody in the house? Okay. So algo is something, alguien somebody, alguna is some, algunos is the plural form, plural masculine form of some, nada nothing, nadie nobody. Okay. Let's move on. Reflexive verbs. These were in chapter 5. Again, I went through these in the Zoom lecture. It's where the actor or the subject of the sentence does the thing back on herself or himself. So they reflect back on the subject, and they must use the self pronouns. What are the self pronouns? Myself, yourself, himself, herself, ourselves, themselves. Okay. What are they in Spanish? Me is myself, te is yourself, se is himself, se is also herself, and se is the usted, yourself. For the plural self pronouns, we would be ourselves would be nos, and then for ellos, they, it would be themselves or se. Okay, so se can mean themselves, it can mean herself, himself, or yourself with usted. So make sure you know these. Now, you're going to be given a menu of reflexive verbs in the infinitive form. And these are AR, ER, and IR verbs, whatever. And they will have a se on the end. That shows that they're to be used reflexively. Now you're going to be given some sentences. You've got to choose the correct reflexive verb. Let's take a look at number 1. Mary blank a las 11 de la noche. So what would Mary do at 11 at night? Okay, so would she get dressed? Probably not. Would she get up, levantarse? I don't think so. We don't usually wake up at 11 at night. Brush, cepillarse is to brush oneself? I don't think so. But what about acostarse? To go to bed. To go to bed. We've learned this verb. So this is the verb we want. Now we have to conjugate it. Whenever all these acostarse is an AR verb, so it's stem and ending, okay? And but before we conjugate the verb, we have to insert the reflexive pronoun, the se at the end, okay? So we want to say Mary literally lays herself down. So this is how we would do it. And also acostarse, and I pointed this out, is a stem changing verb. The O goes to UE, correct? And you're going to have some stem changers on your exam. Make sure you recognize them and you know when to change the stem. The stem changer verbs always have a stem change with every subject pronoun except nosotros. And with nosotros, there's no stem change. In this case, We're with Mary or the ella form, so there will be a stem change. So let's take a look. Mary se acuesta. We have to use the reflexive pronoun se, that goes with Mary. And then we have to conjugate the verb. It's se acuesta. Okay, the stem is acuest, and we put an a ending. A las 11. Next one. And remember, the reflexive verb always goes, the reflexive pronoun always goes before the conjugated verb. Next one. Ella siempre a las 5 de la mañana. Okay. So she does something always at 5 in the morning. Again, what do you think it would be? The best answer would be levantarse, to get herself up. So ella se levanta a las 5 de la mañana. Finally, for 3, Bob, blank el pelo por la mañana. So he does something with his hair in the morning, and so the best answer here is cepillarse. He brushes his hair. So Bob se cepilla el pelo por la mañana. So look at these reflexive verbs and make sure you're familiar with them, and you're going to have a few questions like this. All right, let's move on. You're going to be working with adjectives, okay? Adjectives. And remember, your adjectives have to agree in number and gender with the person or thing they refer to. So, adjectives that end in O have 4 ways of being stated. So, if we want to say, let's say, pretty, bonito is masculine singular. If the item we're describing is feminine, it would be bonita. And if it was masculine plural, bonitos, and feminine plural, bonitas. There's 4 ways to say pretty. Just remember that when your adjectives end in an O. If an adjective ends in an E, there's only 2 ways to say it, okay? There is no masculine and feminine form. There's just a singular and a plural. So inteligente or inteligentes. And that's it. So let's take a look at these. Los abuelos de Mary. So los abuelos de Mary means Mary's grandparents are, son, are. Now, which adjective do you want to use? Caro means expensive, grande means big, mayor means older in terms of age, or viejo means old. Okay, so we have to put the correct word or adjective in there and then tweak it so that it matches with the person or persons it refers to. So los abuelos de Mary son, we want to say, are older than she is. All right. So older, and it would be the best word to use here would be mayor. Okay. Now, they are older. There are 2 of them, so they're plural. So mayores que ella. Next one. Los padres de Mary son más blank que ella. Now we have Mary's parents are more blank que ella. All right. So now, what are they? They're older than she is. So what's the word for old? It's viejo. So there's 2 of them. Son más viejos que ella. Finally, una casa es más blank que un auto. A house is more blank than a car. Well, it's going to be, the best answer here is grande. It's much bigger, okay? And so, una casa es más grande que un auto. So you will have some questions where you'll be given adjectives, and you're going to have to choose the best adjective to complete the meaning of the sentence. So take your time and think it through, and you might have to tweak the adjective to either masculine or feminine, or singular or plural, and or both. Okay, verbs. There's going to be a lot of verbs conjugations on the exam. They're going to be multiple choice, so the right answer will be there. Just take your time, look at what the subject is, and make sure you properly conjugate the verb. And these will be present tense conjugations. You'll have AR, ER, IR verbs, stem and ending. Make sure you know those. Some of the verbs, there will be a few of the stem changing verbs, where the E of the stem goes to IE, the E goes to I, or the O goes to UE. So again, make sure you can recognize your stem changing verbs as well. And there might be some irregular yo verbs on there. So let's take a look at the first example. And here I have given you the answers. You will be given a menu of answers. You have to choose the correct one. So, nosotros tengo mucha hambre. So, tener hambre is to be hungry. So, we want to say we have hunger. So, is it going to be nosotros tengo, nosotros tienen, nosotros tenemos, or tienes? It's going to be tenemos. You should all know that. You should immediately recognize the conjugations of tener. Tengo is I have, tienen is they have, or tenemos is, of course, we have, and tienes is you have. Next one. Que blank comer. So we want to use gustar. We want to ask somebody, what do you like to eat? What do you like to eat? Is it que gusta comer? Que gusto comer? ¿Qué te gusta comer or qué le gustan comer? You got to choose the best answer. Well, the form of gustar that you have to use is gusta. Whenever you use gustar with a verb, we learned that it has to be gusta we use the singular conjugation. Remember, when we're using the verb gustar in this class, we only use the conjugation gusta or gustan. If the thing liked is a verb, we use gusta. Or if the thing liked is a single adjective here, it's a verb, so we have to use gusta. All right. And so now we want to ask, is it going to be que? So we have to use gusta. Now, does que gusta comer make any sense? No. We know that with the verb gustar, we have to use one of the indirect object pronouns, me, te, le, nos. We have to use them, or les. We have to use one of those indirect object pronouns. Okay, again, review gustar. So which is the correct one? Well, gusta, so the correct answer is either going to be gusta or te gusta. And of course it's te gusta because it uses the indirect object pronoun, one of them that we must always use with gustar. So we must always use either me, te, le, nos, or les. Finally, so there we go. And then 3. Bob blank que él no se siente bien. So Bob something, so we see the verb decir, to say. So Bob says that he doesn't feel well. So you've got, it's a stem changing verb, and they give you the different conjugations. So so which one will it be? Bob dices, Bob digo, Bob dice. Well, dices means you say, tú dices. Digo is yo digo, so it's for yo. So the answer is dice, Bob dice. Finally, we want to say we don't like to eat salads. So is it going to be no gustamos comer ensaladas? No me gusto ensaladas? Or let's see, or it's going to be, it got obliterated there, but you'll see this one. The best answer here has got to be no nos gusta. Again, why? Because whenever we're using the verb gustar, we can only either use gusta or gustan. Okay? Here we're using gustar with a verb, so we must use the form gusta. And the only selection here that has gusta in it is the last one. No nos gusta comer ensaladas. We don't like to eat salads. Okay. Here are some more. Here we have a stem changing verb, jugar. Okay, jugar. So let's say nosotros play tennis. So we want to, which form are we going to use? Is it juegamos, juego, or jugamos? Now we know that jugar is a stem changer. The U goes to UE, but there's never a stem change with nosotros, so it's nosotros jugamos. Let's look at the next one. A Mary y a Bob. And what do we want to say here? We want to use the verb gustar. So we want to say Bob and Mary like to eat pizza. So right away we know that the form of gustar here will be gusta. We have to have gusta because the thing we like to do is a verb action. So we always use gusta in the singular form. Now we want to say Mary and Bob, they like to eat pizza. How do we say they like? Do we say me gusta? Te gusta? Do we say nos gusta? Do we say le gusta? No, we say les gusta. Les gusta, that means they like. Again, review the verb gustar. We always, for they, like, we use the indirect object pronoun les. 7, Mary wants to leave. Here's a stem changing verb where the E goes to IE. And there will be a stem change with Mary. There's always a stem change with what? Yo to the LA form and the ellos form. So, so what is the stem change? It's E to IE. So it's going to be Mary quiere salir. Mary wants to leave or go out. Next one. A donde. Now we've got voy, van, va, vas. You should say, you see that those are the forms of the verb to go. They're irregular. You should know those. We learned them. So where are you going? A donde vas to? Okay, you just need to know that conjugation. Okay, next one. This is we've got some verb combinations here. So we've got this sentence, tu blank blank vegetales y blank más agua. So we see we've got the verb necesitar used with some other verbs, like you need to eat, you need to drink. Okay, so which form are we going to use here? You need. So how do you say you need? Well, you conjugate the verb necesitar. Tu necesitas. That's how we conjugate it. So we got the first part done. Now you need to eat vegetables, right? And drink water. So which is the correct answer? Necesitas comes, tomas, or necesitas comer y tomar? All right. So the answer is, tú necesitas comer vegetales y tomar más agua. You need to eat. We never conjugate a verb after necesitar. We leave it in the infinitive, and we do it in English. You need to eat. We say Bob needs to eat. We don't say Bob needs eats. Do not conjugate the second verb. And that's what they're checking for here. So, tú necesitas comer vegetales y tomar más agua. So you need to eat more vegetables and drink more water. 10. Here is a question and response, Q and R. ¿Qué estás estudiando en este momento? And I do apologize here. There is a mistake. I'm just going to leave it for now. But it's actually, I'm glad it's here because it also illustrates something. So, ¿qué estás estudiando en este momento? It should say, ¿qué estás estudiando? A-N-D-O, okay? So, this is the present progressive tense. It was in the estar section in chapter 5. Again, I told you to please go through this and familiarize yourselves with it. So it's asking you, what are you estudiando? What are you studying in this moment or at this moment? So it's the present progressive tense, and it's when we form the present progressive tense in Spanish, it's just like English. We use the verb to be and then the ing form of the verb. So the verb to be we use is always estar, never ser. So, ¿qué estás? What are you what are you studying? Now, it's how do you form the present participle? because Spanish is just like English, uses a conjugation of the verb estar with the present participle. Again, we went through this in chapter 5. You get the stem of the verb estudiar, so it's estudi, and for an AR verb, the ending will be ando. So this should read, ¿Qué estás estudiando en este momento? All right, so there is a typo there, but let's do the correct answer. So now you want to respond back, I am studying biology. So how would you say that? Yo soy estudiando biología. Yo es estudiando biología. O yo estoy estudiando biología. It's going to be yo estoy estudiando biología. Does everyone see this? We use the verb estar always, never ser. Let's look at 11. Ellos tienen hambre. And so we want to choose what verb combination is correct here. So, ellos tienen hambre. They are hungry. They, something about eating. So, if they are hungry, they have to eat. So, is it going to be ellos vas a? No, it can't be. Ellos tiene comer? They have to eat? No. Ellos tiene comer makes no sense. But ellos tienen que comer. They have to eat. And make sure you know the phrase tener que. It's to have to do something. If I have a test tomorrow, I would say I have to study. Yo tengo que estudiar. Okay. Number 12. We're going to have saber and conocer. This was in chapter 5. Again, make sure you look at chapter 5, the information. I went through this in the Zoom lecture. We want to use we need to use the verb to know, but there's two verbs to know, saber and conocer. We have to know which verb to choose and the correct conjugation. So, Mary blank a la profesora. So we're saying Mary knows the professor. Whenever you know a person or a place and thing, whenever you're acquainted with them, and always with people, you use conocer. So Mary conoce a la profesora. That's all we're saying. Okay. Here we have a question. Do you know a qué hora empieza la clase? Do you know at what time the class begins? Well, that's a factual thing. So we're going to use saber. Saber is for knowing facts. So sabes. A qué hora. Finally, the person states, I know how to play tennis. When you know how to do something like a skill, we use saber. How do I say I know? It's yo sé, not sabo. Be very careful. The verb saber is an irregular yo verb and it's yo sé. Okay. Now, what about time? There's a few time questions. These are very easy. ¿Qué hora es? So if you're asked ¿Qué hora es? What are you being asked? You're being asked, what time is it? What time is it? So how would you answer that? Which is the best answer here? Can you answer back es las dos? No, because it's las dos, it's plural. Would you answer back son los dos? No, time is always feminine. So that's wrong. Es a las dos? If somebody asks you, what time is it right now? Es a las dos is wrong. Es a las dos is saying it is at 2 o'clock. Some event is at 2 o'clock. What is the correct answer? Son las dos. It's 2 o'clock. Okay, look at the next one. Here's a question and a response. ¿A qué hora es la clase? What time is the class? At what time is the class? Now, you want to respond that the class is at 8:30. How would you say that? Son las 8:30? No, son las 8:30 means it is 8:30 right now. Es las 8:30 means is incorrect. You could never use es with las ocho. It's plural, so that's wrong. Look at the last one.
Es a las 8:30. The correct answer. It is at 8:30. Okay, so be able to express that something is at a particular time if you're given a question, a qué hora es. Also, the family members will be on the exam. Make sure you go through these and you feel comfortable with them. These you'll fill in the blank yourself. El esposo de mi suegra. So we got to understand this. El esposo means the husband of my uh, mother-in-law. Es mi is my father-in-law, right? The husband of my mother-in-law is my father-in-law. So es mi suegro. Okay, look at this one. El hijo de mi hijo. The son of my son is my what? Grandson. Es mi nieto. So you'll have some of these on your exam. So go through the family relationships. But basically, most of the exam is multiple choice, matching, a little bit of short answer, and then there's a small reading and some true and false